Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for joining us today. Continuing our series of discussions, today's topic is about how to grow revenue with email platforms. My name is Jay Sill from Atmail. I'm the head of sales based here in London. Joining me on this call is Andrea Martins, our head of marketing and communications, who will be sharing our insights and recommendations on ideas and best practices for telcos, ISPs and hosting providers looking to provide mailboxes to the consumer and SMB markets. Now, from today's talk, we will be focusing on really the following topic, which is 5 ways to grow revenue from your email platform. Throughout the presentation, we will share some of our insights and recommendations based on our research over the last few months, as well as insights from our 22 years of history providing email solutions to major telcos, ISPs, and hosting providers around the world. The presentation itself is around 20 minutes, and we will have time at the end for some questions. So we would encourage you to submit your questions during the presentation itself. Please do so by clicking the Q&A button, which you will find at the bottom of your screen. Now let me hand over to Andrea, who is our main speaker today, and will take us through this webinar. Andrea, over to you.
Thanks, Jay, and hi everyone. Thank you for joining. So why are we talking about growing revenue? It's no secret that telecom revenues have been declining for a long time now. This data from PricewaterhouseCoopers shows that revenue has been declining across the globe for at least the last 14 years. So what about today during COVID-19? So we might be feeling busier, we've got increase in data traffic and increased installations, but how is COVID-19 going to help our revenues? Well, unfortunately, COVID-19 has brought with it its own set of revenue killers. You know, installations are slowed, handset purchases have decreased, not just because of reduced consumer spending, but a problem with the supply chain of handset components. You've got payment defaults have gone up, 5G rollouts have been delayed, and ad revenue has suffered significantly. So hospitality and tourism accounts in particular, but companies like Telefonica, BT, AT&T, who rely on significant advertising revenue from major sports events, have really felt the effects of COVID-19. So in short, despite the fact we're all busier than normal, unfortunately, this has not saved telco revenues. So why are we talking about email today? I mean, isn't email dead? That's usually the question that we field. Why look at your email platforms to help you grow revenue? Why is it still relevant? It's simple, because customers are still obsessed with email. Adobe's 2019 survey quote that we've got on the slide here shows that they found that people are still spending at least 5 hours a day on email. And if you're working in an office job, it's more than that, because Adobe found that was 3 hours at work and 2 at home. But globally, there's still nearly 3 million emails sent per second of every day. That is so many emails. And even Slack's co-founder, Stuart Butterfield, has said, there isn't really an alternative to email. Sometimes people will have Facebook Messenger turned on, but 99% of the time, if you're sending a message to a human you don't know well, you're using email, he says. So let's talk about 5 ways to grow revenue with email, because from what we've seen, many telcos offer email, but they don't know how to make money from it. Sound familiar? Email, I think, is like that shiny jacket in the cupboard. You know it's in the cupboard, you know you can do something with it, but you're never really sure when to pull it out or what to do with it. So let's get started with the basics. So not all email customers are the same, and not all email offerings are the same. And if they are, they shouldn't be. Consumers don't usually need calendars. Small and medium businesses do. Small and medium businesses don't always need document sharing, but enterprise customers typically do. So one of the insights from our recent research project was that whilst some of the telcos, ISPs and hosting providers understand these 3 tiers and price their packages accordingly, most telcos that offered paid email do not. They focus on the enterprise option, and they're giving away the consumer and SMB email for free. This is such a lost opportunity when you think about it, because if telcos are saying that they need to grow revenue, they're leaving money on the table, which is such a shame. And if you think about what they are offering in the enterprise market, reselling Google and Microsoft, the margins are so slim. It's definitely not a win-win for telcos. Now, here's an example of a very large global hosting provider who knows how to play the game. They know how to speak to the three different segments: consumer, SMB, and enterprise. They know how to put the promotional pricing on there to suck you in and then hit you as soon as you're sticky, and they know that you've got your email and you're not going to move. And if you look at the pricing that we've circled in red, €4.99, €5.99, $12.99, it totally goes against the argument that people don't value email and don't want to pay. These are decent prices every month per customer. So another insight from our recent research project was that telcos can learn a lot from hosting providers. So if you look on the left with the bundled free email results that we found, 69% of the companies that are giving email away for free are telcos. And given that telcos need revenue, this does not make sense, does it? So then we look on the right-hand side and we look who's actually charging for email, and 75% of the companies that we found that charge for standalone paid email are hosting providers. So if you put two and two together, telcos can really learn a lot from the business models of hosting providers. So let's start with the 5 ways to grow revenue. The first way is to subscribe, get customers to pay a subscription fee for your email service. And despite what you've been told in the past about people won't pay, we found that people will pay, they are paying, and they're paying good money in some cases. Email is not what it used to be. It's not like it was 20 years ago. Today, it's really people's primary online identity. It's their main digital storage of conversations, documents, and memories, and they're willing to pay for that. They'll pay for a better email experience to keep their online identity and data safe with a trusted provider, and they'll pay for the convenience. I mean, let's face it, they don't really want to move if they don't have to many times, so they're happy to pay for that. To drill into this further, let's take a look at our recent research results just for Europe region. So if you look at the screen, we found that the pricing for telcos in Europe ranged between 68 cents and €2 plus upsells, and the average price per user per month was €1.12. But if you look at the ISP and hosting providers, the prices are not just double that, they're more than double that. So not only did we find that telcos are not always charging for email, but when they're actually charging, they arguably could be charging more. They're leaving money on the table again. So this is just a sample of one of the tables we put together for one of our customers to help them understand what's being charged in the region. And if you're interested in getting the full results for your region in terms of who's charging what, the company name, location, and pricing, please do get in touch with us after the webinar and arrange to have a chat one-on-one with Jay. So we'd like to share with you now 2 case studies of telcos whose email platforms were losing money and how they turn that around to actually be making money from the email. So this is a telco with 25,000 mailboxes. They were giving email away for free because their webmail was outdated, and they felt that they couldn't charge for a webmail that was outdated. People wouldn't pay, is what they said. They had limited internal email resources, and the email platform could not scale as fast as the company was growing. So they started putting those things together and figuring out what else can we do. So they came and talked to us, and they transitioned to a hosted cloud platform. They had a new look webmail with greater reliability and premium anti-spam, and they charged the equivalent of about €1 per month per customer to every email customer, giving 1 GB storage. So if you look on the right-hand side for the results, it's less than a year later, and that email platform is now net positive. They had less than 5% churn, and now they're looking at exploring upsell options, for example, storage and SMB package options, so that they can use email to grow their revenue further. So this is the second case study we wanted to share. This is a tier 1 telco with 120,000 mailboxes. They were losing money and their email software and hardware was coming up to end of life. So they considered turning their email platform off. They decided that they would keep it only if it didn't lose money. So it's really important to note here that they didn't even look to make money. They just wanted to stop losing money. So they transitioned onto a hosted cloud platform, new look webmail, and greater reliability. And they started phasing the transition of their customers. So at the time of their annual renewal, they would charge them the equivalent of €4.57 per month per user for 10 gigabytes of storage. So if you look at the right side, what are the results? Okay, so after 2 years, 30% of customers have transitioned to their subscription model, and their high value customers are still getting email for free at the moment. So they've got a very low churn rate, and they still have, you know, probably like 65% of customers they can still move over in the coming years. But they're generating net profit from this. And I think it's worth just stopping for a moment and looking at the numbers on this slide, because if you do the maths, 120,000 mailboxes, €4.57 a month per user, times 12 months is nearly $2 million of revenue per year, gross revenue. So these are real figures from a real company. So it's pretty staggering when you think that they were going to turn the email off, they were losing money, it was just too hard, and now they're actually making money, making good money from the email platform. And if you are still wondering if customers will pay for email, think about these words from Oracle's Customer Experience Impact Report. 86% of consumers will pay for a better customer experience, they said. So the question here, I think, is, do you deliver a better email experience? And if you do, you might be surprised how many customers value your email system enough to pay for it. So the second way to grow revenue with email platforms is upsell. Email offers multiple opportunities to upsell to your customers and generate new revenues. Loyal email customers are typically the ones who pay for the complementary products and the features, you know, the domain names, extra cloud storage, advanced security, mobile email, archiving, backup, and ad-free email, and more. But these are not just theoretical upsells for this presentation. These are upsells that people are genuinely paying for right now in the market. So we wanted to share this example with a very well-known hosting provider of how they put 3 of their upsells up for email. So mobile email, yes, they actually do charge the equivalent of €3.21 plus tax to be able to access email on your phone. Email storage and email security. And then we went to some other sites as well to get some examples of what other companies are charging. They're charging for setup fee, priority support, email backup, encryption, archiving, email security, antivirus. And that's just a sample of what we found. So not only can you consider charging a subscription, but you can also charge upsell for things that you think deliver value to your customers. And if they think they're of value, they might just pay for them. The third way to grow revenue with your email platform is cross-selling. And I think as a telco, you know all about cross-selling. Telcos cross-sell very, very well. My question here is not, do you know how to cross-sell, but how many of you are deliberately trying to attract email customers so you can cross-sell? We have a tier 1 telco that we know well, and they actually have been proactively signing up 10,000 email customers a month because they've found that their premium email customers are spending 3 times more across their entire service portfolio. They decided that it's the email customers that are super sticky and they're the people they're targeting. So my question is, are you trying to attract the email customers to do the cross-sell? And this is another provider. This is a hosting provider. So Madison Selleck from Venture IP, I think, said it best. We estimate that our premium email customers spend around 3 times more across our entire service portfolio. So he confirms that 3x factor that the other tier 1 telco had told us about. The fourth way to grow revenue with your email platform is advertising. And advertising within email applications is not new, but it's not like what it was 10 or 20 years ago. If you have a modern webmail interface Advertising can be unobtrusive and personalized to the consumer. Without reading consumer emails, you can base your advertisements on other reader actions elsewhere in your brand. We've just brought up a couple of examples of the fact that advertising can be unobtrusive. It's not like it used to be. It's definitely something that you should consider if you're not already doing it. And it's worth noting that even if you don't think people would want to have advertising, you can actually decide, okay, well, the free customers, we can use the advertising and generate revenue in that way, but we can split our audience and people that would like to pay a small fee for upsell for ad-free email. That's another option too. So here's an example of a telco case study. One of our customers, they have 500,000 email customers, and they generated $1 million in advertising revenue in their very first year. That's an average of $2 per customer per year. And if you think about what we talked about earlier, it's actually not as much as what they might have made if they charged a subscription. But it definitely covered the cost of the email platform, and it stopped them from losing money. So the fifth way to grow revenue with email platforms is to use the stickiness and loyalty factor of email customers to reduce churn. Because as you know, when customers leave, providers lose in three ways: immediate revenue, future potential income, and new customer acquisition costs. Every time your customers are using your branded webmail interface, they're seeing your logo and brand and building that relationship with you, not with Microsoft, not with Google. And this relationship is important if you want to reduce churn, as you know, because for every 50,000 customers, a 1.9% customer churn can result in more than $30,000 a month of lost revenue and nearly $400,000 a year in customer replacement costs. That's a lot of money wasted and revenue lost. It's hard for your revenue figures to grow if you're churning customers and losing money that you should be keeping. Email can help you keep customers sticky to your brand. And it's by using email to help you reduce churn, it's another way to keep your revenue figures up. So I think Gavin Sanders from Trustpower sums it up best when he says that email hosting is important to us because we know that some of our power and gas customers would leave if we didn't offer email. Which brings me to a quote that I love from Arthur Middleton Hughes, in which he says, "Statistics in dozens of industries have proved conclusively that the retention rate is a function of the number of products that a customer is buying from your company." So if customers are not buying email from your company right now, why not? So with regards to summarizing what we've been talking about, the 5 ways to grow revenue with email platforms we've discussed today: 1, subscriptions; 2, upsell; 3, cross-sell; 4, advertise and reducing churn. And insights from our research and case studies that help understand how you can use email to grow revenue. The first insight would be that the growth opportunity is really in the consumer SMB market. You know, it's more affordable for customers, especially during COVID-19, than Google and Microsoft, and the margins are greater for you. Customers value email enough to pay is the second major point we wanted to make for their insight. So we found plenty of examples of this. Thirdly, telcos can learn from hosting providers. I mean, they're the ones that know the business models. They're charging people for email and people are paying. They know the value of email. And fourthly, I think it's really important, the case study we shared, just the equivalent of €1 per user per month actually turned an email platform from a cost center into a net positive. You know, for all the times we've heard people say email is a cost center, we listen to examples from customers where say we just charged €1 a month and we turned it around. That's really powerful. There's many feature upsell options out there, as we showed you, and really you're only limited by imagination and what your email vendor's system will let you do. There are so many ways that you could add on upsell based on what you think your customers will value. And lastly, advertising can generate revenue either directly or via an ad-free email upsell. So if you used it in the past, decided you didn't want to do it again, or you have not used it before, it's definitely worth considering. Companies are using it and it's helping. And lastly, The message we want to leave you with today is really that modern branded email offers the opportunity to grow your revenue, give affordable alternatives to customers, higher margins for you, and reduce your churn, and keep the brand mindshare of your customers. If you can keep that direct relationship with your customer, not send them off to Google or Microsoft, you can help 3x the spend across your whole brand. And if you let that sink in about what they're spending and what 3x might mean for you, it's definitely worth considering. Over to you, Jay.
Thank you, Andrea. And thank you for those insights and recommendations. I think some of them are fairly well known or obvious, but it's also good to be able to see that backed up by data as well. So reinforce that. Now we do have some time for your questions. Let me go through a few that have come in. My apologies if we don't get to yours, but let's start with a few here. First one coming up, can I do this with my current email system? Well, certainly, by all means. If your current system is a modern multi-tenant solution capable of white labeling, then yes, absolutely. If not, then you need to be talking to a leading solution provider that can offer you those services. With those services, you will absolutely be able to offer those types of services. Moving on, second question, related to the first in some respects. What do you mean by white label? So in order to answer this, by white label, what we mean is an email solution that can be branded and customized with your logo, your colors and style to give it the look and feel of your brand. Now, if you think about it, unlike most enterprise solutions, which are branded either Microsoft, Google, or another, we at Appmail believe the best email solutions are those branded to look like yours. And that's going to certainly resonate within the consumer and SMB market in order to reinforce your brand. Time is moving on, so let me pick one other question. How can I access more specific company names and pricing? Now, I think Andrea covered this in the main part of the presentation itself. Just to reiterate, we would be happy to follow up with you on an individual basis to share this. If anyone would like to do so or speak with us further about our insights and recommendations, and there is an awful lot of data behind this that, unfortunately, given the time we weren't able to share, then please do get in touch with us. We would be more than happy to share this with you. On the slide, it gives you a contact email address, sales@appmail.com. Please do feel free to use that, and Andrea and I will be more than happy to share that data with you. That's all we have time for today. Sorry if we didn't get to your questions. Please do feel free to follow up with us individually if you want those answered. In the meantime, all that remains to be said is thank you for joining us today for our webinar. We trust that you found those brief insights and recommendations helpful. If any of you would like to understand our findings in more details, as I say, please do get in touch, sales@appmail.com. Andrea and I would be very happy to answer them. And until next time, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.